18 years. That is how long a Rahu Mahadasha runs, the third longest period in Vedic astrology, behind Venus's 20 and Saturn's 19. And it has the strangest reputation of any of them. Ask 10 people who have lived through one. 5 will tell you it was the making of them. 5 will tell you it was the worst stretch of their life. Both are telling the truth. The difference is not luck, and it is not karma in the vague way people use that word. It is placement, and it is readable in your chart before the period ever starts. So here is what you are getting in the next few minutes. How to read whether your Rahu is strong or weak. What the 18 years deliver in each case. And then the part almost nobody covers, what each individual year is actually for. Because this is not one long block. It is 9 chapters, in a fixed order, and they are not interchangeable. Fast because you need it for the rest. Vedic astrology divides a life into 9 chapters called Mahadashas, long planetary periods running in a fixed sequence, totaling 120 years. You don't receive all 9. You receive whichever ones fit your lifetime, and where you start depends on the moon's position at your birth. Each Mahadasha is then subdivided into 9 smaller periods, called Bhuktis, or Antardashas. So a Rahu Mahadasha is not 18 flat years. It is 9 distinct chapters. Rahu Dasha Rahu Bhukti, then Rahu Dasha Jupiter Bhukti, then Rahu Dasha Saturn Bhukti, and so on, in a fixed order that never varies. Hold on to that. It becomes the whole map. And it makes one thing immediately practical. You need to know whether you are in a Rahu Mahadasha right now, and if you are, which Bhukti. Your free birth chart and full Dasha timeline is at askthara.com. The link is in the description. Get it open? Then keep watching, because from here, everything is specific. Start with what Rahu actually is, because it explains everything that follows. Rahu is not a planet. It is a mathematical point, the northern place where the moon's orbit crosses the path of the sun. A shadow. It has no physical body. 2 consequences follow. First, a thing with no body cannot be filled. Rahu can want. Rahu cannot be satisfied. So a Rahu period does not deliver contentment. It delivers appetite and then movement. Second, and this is the one most explanations miss, Rahu rules no sign of its own. Every other planet owns territory. The Sun owns Leo. Saturn owns Capricorn and Aquarius. Rahu owns nothing, so Rahu has no independent nature to express. It borrows. It takes on the character of the sign it sits in, the house it occupies, the planet that rules that sign, and any planet sitting beside it. Which means the question, is Rahu good or bad, is the wrong question entirely. Rahu is an amplifier with no content of its own. What matters is what it has been handed to amplify. Let's define it properly, because the phrase gets used constantly and almost never explained. For Rahu, 4 things decide it. 1. The house. Rahu performs best in what are called the Upachaya houses. Upachaya means growing, houses that improve with time and pressure rather than degrading under it. These are the 3rd, the 6th, the 10th, and the 11th. The 11th is generally considered Rahu's strongest ground. Gains, networks, large audiences, income from many directions. The 10th gives visibility and unusual career rise. The 6th turns Rahu's appetite on competition, litigation, and obstacles, and Rahu tends to win there. The 3rd gives drive, self-promotion, communication, and media. Rahu struggles most in the houses that require settledness. The 4th, home and inner peace. The 5th, children, creativity, and judgment. The 7th, partnership. And the 1st, your own identity, where Rahu makes a person magnetic to others and genuinely unsure of who they are. The 8th and 12th are the interesting ones. Both are classically difficult, but both suit Rahu unusually well. The 8th for research, investigation, and anything hidden. The 12th for foreign lands, isolation, and spiritual practice. Difficult and productive at the same time. 2. The sign and its ruler. Most schools treat Rahu as comfortable in the signs of Venus, Mercury, and Saturn. Taurus, Gemini, Virgo, Libra, Capricorn, and Aquarius. Less comfortable in Aries, Cancer, Leo, and Scorpio. You will also hear that Rahu is exalted in Taurus and debilitated in Scorpio. Be honest about that one. The classical texts assign the nodes no exaltation at all, and the schools disagree. Treat it as a hint, not a verdict. But here is the factor that outranks all of it. 3. The dispositor. The dispositor is the planet that rules the sign Rahu is sitting in. Rahu in Libra has Venus. Rahu in Capricorn has Saturn. Because Rahu owns nothing, it delivers the results of that planet. So a well-placed Rahu in a difficult sign with a strong dispositor will outperform a comfortably placed Rahu whose dispositor is weak, combust, or badly damaged. If you check only one thing, check this. Find the sign Rahu sits in, find that sign's ruler, and look at the condition of that ruler. That single reading tells you more about your 18 years than the sign of Rahu itself. 4. The company it keeps. Rahu conjunct or aspected by Jupiter, Venus, or a strong Mercury tends to be given something worth amplifying. Although Rahu conjunct Jupiter has its own classical caution, sometimes called Guru Chandala, where the appetite starts overriding the judgment. Rahu conjunct Mars, Saturn, or a wounded moon amplifies pressure instead. So, house, sign, dispositor, company. 4 checks. Run them before you interpret a single year. When those 4 checks come back strong, the Rahu Mahadasha is one of the most productive periods available in a chart. Not comfortable, productive. What it brings: rise that outpaces qualification, recognition from an unexpected direction, foreign connection, travel, relocation, foreign clients, foreign income, success in anything new, unconventional, or without an established rule book, sudden expansion of scale, especially audience and network, and the ability to operate at a level that would have intimidated the same person 10 years earlier. The signature of a strong Rahu period is this: you end it holding something you could not have described at the start and could not have reached by working harder inside the old plan. When those checks come back weak, bad house, hostile sign, damaged dispositor, harsh company, the same appetite runs without a target. What it brings? False starts. Beginning things with total conviction and abandoning them at the 60% mark. Chasing scale before the thing works. People who are not what they present. Reputation risk, usually from overclaiming rather than wrongdoing. Confusion about identity and direction, which is far more disorienting than plain misfortune. Foreign environments that isolate rather than expand. And a persistent sense that the answer is one more move away. Note what is not on that list. Punishment. A weak Rahu period is rarely a period of loss in the ordinary sense. It is a period of motion without accumulation, which is why people describe it as exhausting rather than tragic. Now the map. 9 Bhuktis, fixed order, exact lengths, and one rule that makes the whole thing legible. Every Bhukti is a combination of 2 conditions, Rahus and the Bhukti lords. 4 outcomes fall out of that. Both strong is where the real results land. Rahu strong, Bhukti lord weak gives opportunity you cannot fully execute. Rahu weak, Bhukti lord strong gives protection and relief inside a difficult stretch, which is why nobody's 18 years are uniformly bad. Both weak is where the trouble concentrates. So do not ask, is this a good Bhukti? Ask, What does this Bhukti Lord govern in my chart, and what condition is it in? Here is the sequence. Rahu Dasha, Rahu Bhukti, the first 2 years and 8 months, Rahu on its own terms. The appetite switches on. Something you accepted for years becomes intolerable. Strong Rahu points this at a real target. Weak Rahu points it at a feeling. Rahu Dasha, Jupiter Bhukti, years 2.7 to 5.1, 2 years, 4 months, 24 days. Expansion, mentors, teaching, children, travel, ethics. For most people, this is the most fortunate stretch inside the 18. But check Jupiter first, because Jupiter weak here inflates rather than expands. Rahu Dasha Saturn Bhukti, years 5.1 to just under 8, 2 years, 10 months. The hardest window in the period for most charts. Rahu wants speed, Saturn imposes time, and whatever was built quickly gets tested. Strong Saturn makes this the stretch that gives your work durability. Weak Saturn makes it the stretch where the foundation shows. Rahu Dasha Mercury Bhukti, years 8 to 10.5, 2 years, 6 months. Contracts, negotiation, communication, business, reinvention. Mercury and Rahu get along well, so this is often a genuinely constructive window. Commerce, writing, technology, deals. Rahu Dasha Ketu Bhukti, years 10.5 to 11.5. Just over 1 year, the shortest of the 9, and often the most destabilizing. Ketu removes a role, a relationship, or an identity that seemed structural simply ends. Uncomfortable, and frequently the necessary clearing before what follows. Rahu Dasha Venus Bhukti, years 11.5 to 14.5. Exactly 3 years, the longest of the 9, and usually the most comfortable. Money settles, relationships stabilize, life becomes pleasant. Venus and Rahu are friends. The one caution, comfort here is easily mistaken for the problem being solved. Rahu Dasha Sun Bhukti, years 14.5 to 15.5. 10 months, 24 days. Exposure, authority, visibility, government, father, and being seen for what you actually built. The Sun and Rahu are not friends. This is a short, bright, revealing window in both directions. Rahu Dasha Moon Bhukti, years 15.5 to 17. 1 year, 6 months. The emotional reckoning. Home, mother, family, and the internal cost of 15 years of pursuit. Almost everyone registers this one. Rahu Dasha Mars Bhukti, the final year. 1 year and 18 days, the exit. Decisive, sharp, often a clean break. Whatever is still unresolved gets cut rather than negotiated. And then the Mahadasha ends, and the next planet takes over an entirely different life. 4 things, all practical. First, run the 4 checks: house, sign, dispositor, company. Do that before you interpret anything else. A Rahu period read without its dispositor is a guess. Second, locate yourself in the 9. Year 3 and year 12 are not the same problem, and treating them the same is the most common mistake people make with this period. Third, in the Saturn Bhukti, years 5 to 8, do not launch. That window is for making the existing things survive contact with reality. Things started there generally get started twice. Fourth, define the target in writing. Rahu is an amplifier. Aimed at something specific, it is the most powerful period in the chart. Aimed at a feeling, enough, respected, secure. It will amplify the search itself for 18 years. Rahu does not decide your outcome. It decides the size of it. Where you point it is still yours. Next in this series, Saturn, 19 years, and an entirely different kind of pressure. Get your free birth chart and Dasha timeline at askthara.com and tell me in the comments which Mahadasha and which Bhukti you are in right now.